Welcome to the creepy corner. Welcome to the dark room. Welcome to the unliving room. Well, hello, welcome. As we are here being self quarantined, I figured I would just go ahead and just record a video. What I've been doing lately and what I've always liked to do is just watch scary videos on YouTube or read scary stories of paranormal or, cryptozoology and all that weird stuff. So I figured I would just take a few stories from the internet and read them. Let's see how this goes. Coda, really? You choose this time to be loud. Let's see, I have about 1, 2, 3, 4 from Reddit, because Reddit is the end all be all. Is it be all end all? End all be all. Because Reddit is the end all be all for scary stories and weird shit. So, here we go. Now, this story is called The Smiling Man. And I've actually read this story a couple of places on the internet. But I like it. So I just want to read it and then kind of react to it and see what you all think. All right, so this is The Smiling Man. It was posted by Blue Title about 7 years ago. About 5 years ago, I lived downtown in a major city in the US. I've always been a night person, so I would often find myself bored after my roommate, who was decidedly not a night person, went to sleep. To pass the time, I used to go for long walks and spend the time thinking. I spent 4 years like that, walking alone at night. Why would you do that? It never once had a reason to feel afraid. I always used to joke with my roommate that even the drug dealers in the city were polite, but all of that changed in just a few minutes one evening. It was a Wednesday, somewhere between 1 and 2 in the morning. Good God, 1 and 2 in the morning. What city do you live in? And I was walking near a police-patrolled park quite a ways from my apartment. It was a quiet night, even for a weeknight, with very little traffic and almost no one on foot. That's already a bad sign. I mean, if that's out of the norm, then your senses should have been like, this is not the night. We need to go. Let me see. With very little traffic and almost no one on foot. The park, as it was most nights, was completely empty. I turned down a short side street in order to loop back to my apartment when I first noticed him. At the far end of the street on my side was the silhouette of a man dancing. It was a strange dance, similar to a waltz, but he finished each box with an odd forward stride. I guess you could say he was dance walking, headed straight for me. Deciding he was probably drunk, I stepped as close as I could to the road to give him the majority of the sidewalk to pass by me. The closer he got, the more I realized how gracefully he was moving. He was very tall and lanky and wearing an old suit. He danced closer still until I could make out his face. His eyes were wide open and wild, head tilted back slightly, looking off at the sky. You stood there long enough to get all this description. His mouth was formed in a painfully wide cartoon of a smile. Between the eyes and the smile, I decided to cross the street before he danced any closer. Smart person. I took my eyes off of him to cross the empty street. As I reached the other side, I glanced back and then stopped dead in my tracks. He had stopped dancing and was standing with one foot in the street, perfectly parallel to me. He was facing me, but still looking skyward, smile still wide on his lips. What does that look like? It's like... What does that remind me of? Who had like a wide smile, like the cat from Alice in Wonderland? Like the Cheshire? Is it Cheshire? I was completely and utterly unnerved by this. I started walking again, but kept my eyes on the man. He didn't move. Once I had put about half a block between us, I turned away from him for a moment to watch the sidewalk in front of me. The street and sidewalk ahead of me were completely empty. Still unnerved, I looked back to where he had been standing to find him gone. For the briefest of moments, I felt relieved until I noticed him. He had crossed the street and was now slightly crouched down. I couldn't tell for sure due to the distance and the shadows, but I was certain he was facing me. I had looked away from him for no more than 10 seconds, so it was clear that he had moved fast. It's time to run. I mean, why? Why are you sitting here analyzing this being? Why? I was so shocked that I stood there for some time staring at him, and then he started moving towards me again. He took giant, exaggerated, tiptoed steps as if he were a cartoon character sneaking up on someone, except he was moving very, very quickly. I'd like to say at this point I ran away or pulled out my pepper spray or my cell phone or anything at all, but I didn't. I just stood there, completely frozen as the smiling man crept towards me. And then he stopped again, about a car length away from me. Whoa, that's close. Still smiling his smile, still looking to the sky. When I finally found my voice, I blurted out the first thing that came to my mind. What I meant to ask was, "What the fuck do you want?" in an angry, commanding tone. But what came out was a whimper. What the fuck? What the fuck? No. Regardless of whether or not humans can smell fear, they can certainly hear it. I heard it in my own voice, and that only made me more afraid. But he didn't react to it at all. He just stood there, smiling. And then after what felt like forever, he turned around very slowly and started dance walking away. Just like that. Not wanting to turn my back to him again, I just watched him go until he was far enough away to almost be out of sight. And then I realized something. He wasn't moving away anymore, nor was he dancing. I watched in horror as the distant shape of him grew larger and larger. He was coming back my way, and this time he was running. I ran too, finally. You're about 10 minutes too late, sir. Or ma'am, sir. I ran until I was off of the side of the road and back onto a better lit road with sparse traffic. Looking behind me then, he was nowhere to be found. The rest of the way home, I kept glancing over my shoulder, always expecting to see his stupid smile, but he was never there. I lived in that city for 6 months after that night, and I never went out for another walk. There was something about his face that always haunted me. He didn't look drunk, he didn't look high. He looked completely and utterly insane. And that's a very, very scary thing to see. Yes, it is. I don't know if this story is true or not. I think there are some crazy stuff out there, especially at night. I feel like the freaks and the monsters and the scary things come out at night. And, yeah, you shouldn't go walking at night, especially by yourself. Yeah, that's creepy. Let me see. If I was in a situation, it just wouldn't be a situation because I just wouldn't go outside at night. Like, why do I need to go outside walking at night? No, absolutely not. You wouldn't catch me dead 1, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning walking around. Are you crazy? Don't they call that the twilight hour for a reason? That one's like one of my favorites because it's like no one's gonna believe you if you tell your friends there's this crazy man waltzing down the road looking at the sky, and then he just charged at me and then disappeared. So yeah, no one's gonna believe you. Anywho, let's move on to the second story. Cops of Reddit, what has so far been the creepiest call you've ever had to respond to, and what happened? So a poster, Smokey Bonaparte, or Smokey Bonaparte, I don't know, 2 years ago, posted, 911 dispatcher reporting in. Received a call from an elderly lady who had trouble breathing. I had taken several calls from her and her husband in the past, so I recognized her voice. I dispatched an ambulance to her residence and held her on the line trying to keep her calm while the ambulance was responding. Ambulance advised that they are 15 minutes ETA. She lived in a very rural part of West Virginia. West Virginia. That state has some stories. I'm talking to her, asking about her husband and how he was doing and just making small talk with her. Wait, why did she call? Why did she call the ambulance? Oh, she had trouble breathing. Why are you talking to her? I'm talking to her, asking about her husband and how he was doing and just making small talk with her. The ambulance calls in and advises they are on scene, and I let them know that she is in severe respiratory distress, and I still had her on the line. I let her know that the ambulance is coming to the door to go answer the door, and she says okay and hangs up the phone. Pretty normal, yeah? Well, here's where it gets weird. The EMT and paramedic on scene call back about a minute later and advises no one is answering the door. We have a sheriff unit who was in the area pulling on scene about that time. The sheriff unit confirmed the address and advised he is breaching the door to make access to the PT. To the PT, I don't know those terms. To the PT. 5 minutes go by and the paramedic on scene radios in asking who the caller was. I advise it was the elderly female who lived at the residence. He tells me that he's going to call in and needs to speak with the supervisor on my shift. We get him over to the supervisor, and the supervisor confirms the information that I gave him and asks what's going on. Apparently, the elderly female had been dead for a while and was already in full rigor mortis. They thought I was wrong on the caller, but the other dispatchers played it back and confirmed that it was the female who called. The ambulance transferred the hospital, and we got the same calls and disbelief from the doctors. So I took a call from a ghost. Wow, that's pretty sad. Where was her husband? I could never be a 911 dispatcher or work anywhere in the medical field. I do not have the heart for it. No, absolutely not. Where's her husband in all this? Yeah, so that's story number 2. I thought that was an interesting story. I thought that was pretty creepy. I wonder like how that dispatcher felt after his or her shift. I wonder like that's not something you can just forget or just put in the back of your mind. I spoke to a ghost. I like had a conversation with a lady. She was dead. Not your everyday stuff. All right, story number 3 is also from Reddit. Let me see. Creepy camping experiences. Now, me and my husband have gone camping once in Joshua Tree, and it was very fun and terrifying because like late at night you heard the howling of coyotes, and then there were like little animals brushing up against, I hope they were little, brushing up against your tent, and like you're out of your mind if you thought I was going to get out my tent and walk across that dark road to where that little outhouse was. You're insane. I would have just peed my pants. I'm fine with that. So that was the scary part. But other than that, like during the day, it was beautiful. And we also like stargazed and everything like that. We took like star photography. It was really fun. So I look forward to going back to Joshua Tree. But anywho, this story is also from Reddit. Campers of Reddit, what is the scariest, creepiest, most disturbing thing that has happened to you in the woods? And then a poster, KMIA official, posted, when I was younger, around 14 or 15 years old, my family used to camp at a state park. Excuse me. My family used to camp at a state park. Every night, my friend and I would walk through the woods. We called this the ritual. Have y'all seen that movie on Netflix? The movie's terrifying. This particular night, we decided to walk further into the woods than usual. We had flashlights, but we liked to try and navigate through the woods with them turned off. We were about half a mile from the nearest campsite when we heard soft whispering behind us. Obviously, we hit the flashlights and spun around, didn't see anything, so we kept walking and we hear it again. This time, we stop and look around a bit before we decide to head back to our campsite. Then we see what's whispering. It's a lady crawling on the ground, whispering just random words. She was wearing dark clothes and was covered in dirt. When she sees that we noticed her, she stands up and declares that she is looking for her campsite. Hell, no need to talk to her. No need to acknowledge her any longer. It's time to turn the hell around and go back to your campsite. We ended up walking her back to the campground and tried helping her find her group. Turns out she was just super drunk / high and got lost trying to find a bathroom. Her friends didn't even notice she was missing, and if we didn't go that far into the woods, she would have been lost all night. It was pretty creepy. Let's see. See, I don't know if I'm the type of person, if I was to encounter a lady crawling on the ground, whispering random words. I don't think I, I don't, I don't think I would have any type of hospitality in me. I think I'll be very defensive. I don't know what I would do. I probably would not try and help her. I would think she was possessed and she was the lady of the night in the woods or something. And I would just run away and leave her and pray that wherever she was trying to go, she makes it. Y'all are too nice and welcoming. Someone said, we got a witch here. Yes, I would have thought witch as well. So I thought that story was funny. I wonder if that made them think twice about walking out in the woods at night, or perhaps they liked that and wanted to see what else is out there. Who knows? All right, and so we have one more Reddit story. Oh, I think it's still from the same category, creepy camping experiences. Anselmo Ricketts. Okay. Oh, they said they've posted this before. Okay. Let me get my mind together first. Because I'm creeped out. Okay. I was camping in a valley by myself. What the fuck? These solo campers, how can y'all do this? Okay, sorry. I was camping in a valley by myself with no cell service. I stayed late on a trail and ran into a nice local dude as it was getting dark. He showed me a local camping spot close to the road and the river, but camouflaged. I had a fire, drank beer, and listened to my friend's comedy podcast. I was loud and visible. Because it was dark already, I decided to sleep in the back of my truck under my topper next to all of my gear as opposed to setting up my tent. The next morning, I made a fire, cracked a beer, and started making breakfast. Then I noticed that there is a man at the edge of my camp. He comes closer, but never looks directly at me. This dude looks homeless, has a long ratty beard, and has at least 100 plastic grocery bags tied all over his clothes. I comment about how nice the day is. No response from him. I offer him breakfast. Nothing. He sort of paces around the perimeter of my camp. I offer him a beer, but he just turns around. The dude is just standing there with his back to me, wandering around. I'm realizing that there isn't going to be any good happenings here. I had my bear spray and buck knife super close. I gave him an ultimatum. Motherfucker, you are either going to acknowledge me or leave immediately. He ignores me. I grab the bear mace and walk a few steps towards him. He sulked away and I threw my shit in my truck and left that place right quick. I wonder if he had watched me during the night, and I thank my laziness for staying in my truck instead of a tent. Oh, you solo campers out there should have at least like a camera or some type of surveillance or something just to record your surroundings. I mean, that's creepy. You know, even though that there's like the unknown and cryptids and stuff out there, at least that's what I believe, like the paranormal. I think the scariest thing are people. People are scary. People are scary. You don't know their intention, especially people who, you know, decide to not be part of civilization any longer. You know, they're just wandering out there in the woods, just living life or whatever. You just don't know their mindset. Well, actually, I can't say that. I can't say that about people who left society, because you have people who live in society that are equally as crazy. So, like I said, people are crazy. People are scary. You don't know their intentions. Everything you know about a person could be a facade. So it's just, that one was pretty creepy. And I thought it was creepy because this took place, I mean, even though he spent the night, like his night was uneventful, but when he noticed the person, it was daytime. So that's pretty creepy, because it does make you think, like, was this person like looking at me while I was sleeping in the bed of my truck? You know, just staring at me, like contemplating doing something to me. So those are my little creepy stories. I don't know, I've always wanted to like get a collection of stories and just read them and just kind of react to them and I don't know if y'all are interested, see what you all think down in the comments. I just love paranormal stuff. I just love creepy stuff. I don't know why. I love the unknown. I don't know why. Maybe it's my curiosity. I guess for my next video, I don't really have like an order or any type of organization. My page is pretty random right now, but I think for my next video, I'll just curate some more creepy stories. I don't know, and read them and see where this goes. Hopefully you all enjoyed. I know I stopped a few times during the story, but I'm just reacting to what I'm reading like anyone would. This isn't your regular storytelling podcast or anything like that. So I don't even know what to call this. Welcome to the creepy corner. Welcome to the dark room. Welcome to the unliving room. I don't know what to call this. So right now it's just creepy stories read by AA. Well, thanks for joining me, and I hope you all have a wonderful quarantine.